Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Untier Talk, the podcast that can't even get hyped for the intro. Hi, Jed.
Yes. What's up? We definitely cannot get hyped for the intro or get my mic to function, so that's a good start.
Well, that's okay. We don't need you today because we actually have a guest, the esteemed winner of the PU Ladder Tournament, Ktut Verd. Ktut, did I pronounce that even remotely correctly?
You can say it the way you want. At the beginning it was Ktut Verde, as in Spanish, People would say it, but you can say Ktut. It's pretty fun actually. And yeah, so I'm French, and I just hope you can understand what I'm saying and that I won't make too many pronunciation mistakes.
I think don't even worry about it. Although I do have to ask.
Yeah,
I know Verd is green. What is Ktut?
I don't know. I think Shackle Death would say it's King Ktut. What's the name?
Oh yeah, no, that's what he says. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
King Tut is like it's I don't know if this is a thing in other countries, but Americans get taught about King Tut, and then in like elementary school, and then you forget it.
I didn't know that you guys in America called Tutankhamun King Tut.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for shortness, I guess. I will say Ktut's English is much better than Yogi's English, which is a good start.
Okay. So yeah, we're just gonna hop right into PU Ladder Tour. I should say there's been like 6 or 7 large PU news things this week. A bunch of seasonal highlight matches, the end of Ladder Tour, change in leadership, Gen 8 speculation. We cannot cover all of it. Next week, what we're going to try to do is get Tasker on and discuss like the rest of it. But now we're hoping to focus more on like the tournament side of things. Yeah, there's also a VR update. Like this has been the busiest time of PU since I've been tier leader, and that includes every suspect. Jad, you wanted to do the question asking this time because I'm normally the bad cop. You can be bad cop this time.
Okay. What am I asking Ktut questions now? All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, Ktut, congratulations on winning the PU Ladder Tour, which you stole from.
Wow. He got so angry about the thievery that he just broke up. Well, if that's just not typical Untier talk, I don't know what is.
I've listened to a couple of Untier talks, but yeah, I know Edge often has.
Yo, dude, I swear, whenever I rage, my mic cuts out. That's
it's
crazy.
Because you get too loud and you get too up close, and it just overloads.
Yeah, dude. But anyway, congratulations. You definitely didn't steal it from me, which, no, like, on a real one, you played Game 2 really well, and I kind of don't doubt that you'd have won a Game 3 even if you didn't steal Game 1. So, yeah, congratulations. You played really well.
I thought you were going to ask actual questions about, like, winning a tournament, not just like, you hanked me at me.
After I'm done with the dink yanking, I will I'll ask questions, all right?
All right.
So, yeah, I'm particularly interested in Ktut's preparation for all of the matches because I felt like he was the one of the only, if not the only guy who prepared for matches more than the rest of the field. I don't know, like everybody was kind of reusing and remixing their teams, whereas Ktut, I felt like every game was a different team or a different style. What inspired that? Were you looking to like counter style certain players? Like you must have known, for example, me and Teddy, we prefer bulkier teams. So did you prepare in your head to have like a bulkier matchup? Was that like in your head constantly?
Yeah. For how do you pronounce that? It's Teddy, the name of my opponent. Teddy?
Yeah, Teddy.
Yeah,
Teddy.
Teddy or Ted. You can say however.
Well, Teddy used that Teddy start every round before the finals. You know, with Polyrath, Cleader, and Sable.
Yeah, his stall team that's just kind of been running all over ladder. Yeah.
So I thought he would probably bring that team against me too, because Star is usually really strong. Even when you prepare for Star, you can just lose if the Star player really plays well. But I didn't read Teddy well. I knew he also had Dodrio, Jellicent, that curiosity team that he posted in sample thread. And so I tried to bring something able to handle both Stahl and also Gerger, Stoutland, and Jellison, stuff that Teddy loves using, from what I know. And so the first game, I don't know how people. What are your thoughts on that first game?
Yes.
I think I didn't play very well on that Stoutland. I almost swept my whole team. I felt a bit ashamed of that game.
Yeah, so I've got the replay right here. I'll link them in the description for anyone who doesn't want to go look for them themselves. You can stop whining about it. So yeah, we see Ktut. You're bringing you've got the Ursa ring, which I assume is because
Ursa ring was to counter team that Teddy started.
Yeah, that was the assumption. It's one of the few mons that will really just break everything with Guts Facade. Just unaware does not help you with that, so that's a big thing. And it was weird that Stoutland did a lot of work, and on its face, the team doesn't look incredibly Stoutland weak, I should say. It's got a Wheezing, it's got a Mudsdale, and it's got an Alolan Sandslash, and it's got an Alolan Persian.
Stoutland is actually, if that thing is broken, when you don't have Regirock, you just can switch into Stoutland.
Yeah. Stoutland is crazy. I mean, we literally just bumped it up to A+ on the VR and dropped Dodrio because we felt it's just a stronger wall breaker and just incredibly consistent. And I agree that Stoutland was the big thing from Teddy's side. To me, the big difference maker here, I guess, other than that thing, you asked for thoughts, and my thought was, Stoutland did so much work. It literally broke right through Mudsdale and Wheezing instantly. And the other big thought was that neither of you really had sweeper win cons or anything. Teddy's team was really offensive, but its win con is just breaking down teams rather than setting up for any particular mon to clean or sweep, which is kind of typical for Teddy teams. He often doesn't run a sweeper. He's just no, I'll just KO 6 things just in individual circumstances. And your team also was kind of like that, where your win con was just breaking everything with Ursaring. And I guess Alolan Persian is sort of a sweeper, but also kind of functions like a wall breaker. It's kind of in between the two. So it was kind of more just a dirty slapfest wall breaking fight rather than any traditional sweepers, which to me was really weird for two pretty offensive teams.
Well, my team was based off the Ursaring as a wall breaker, especially for Star. Even Regirock Star can really handle Source Dance Ursaring because it almost dies to +2 Earthquake. And also against offense, Ursaring is not that useless because it forces people to send stuff like Gerger into the facade. So as to try to revenge kill with Mach Punch or stuff like that. And so Persian can then sweep when you remove fighting tips or really bulky ones that Persian can break through. So I thought it was
I'd say definitely I felt like the difference in the matchup between Teddy and you was the Alolan Persian. I feel like Teddy had everything sort of under wraps, even the guts Ursaring, because it was such a momentum drain. Guts Ursaring was playing into Stoutland's hands at certain points in the game. As you can see, because when you burned it, every time it came in with a facade, it just got a kill. There was nothing you could have done about that. But I feel like that was the difference, is that the Persian was a distinct win condition, and he'd already sacked his Togedemaru by then, and he didn't really have a way of really switching into it effectively. So I feel like the Persian in combination with the Guts Ursaring killing the fast momentum ones that Teddy had to switch into the Persian, that was the key distinction. I feel like that's what won you the game at the end of the day. I feel like the team, if you look at it from a broader perspective, the team's kind of slow. Like it doesn't really function that well versus, I don't know, like a fast offense, with more like distinct wall breakers. But it would counter-style Teddy better than most other teams would.
Yeah.
That's.
Well, I think just about the plays of Teddy on I think I did a huge misplay at the beginning when he sent Jellicent on Sunslash. I used Toxic and then I just went into Untier. But honestly, there was only two possible plays. Like you could use Will-O-Wisp on Untier, or either predict a switch and go into Stoutland. So he could have just double switched into Mudsdale instead of staying in with Lantern, because Stoutland was really obvious. In my opinion, Stoutland was really it was a safe play. And so he brought my Lantern and he brought Stoutland, and so I was in a really bad position at the very beginning of the battle. And I think that was a really huge mistake on my part.
If anyone's looking at the replay, that is turn 3, Ktut goes Lantern, Teddy predicts that doubles into Stoutland, and Stoutland 3 KOs Mudsdale, while Mudsdale just gets up Stealth Rock. And I mean, man, Stoutland's just such a good mon, like Jesus. But
also, there is another huge mistake. It's that I was not really expecting the Pom-Pom to actually have default on it. I thought it was just some kind of awkward hyper offense team from Teddy's, and so he would be using like Carmine Pom-Pom. And so I thought I would just get Rock 7, Toxic Spikes, and then try to sweep with Person. And then when Mudsdale just died and he brought Pom-Pom on default, I didn't really know what to do after that.
Yeah, I think turn 10, I think when that defogs, this game looked incredibly strong for Teddy. Actually get to turn 12, Stoutland picks up another kill, he's got all the momentum, like it looks really good for him. And then from that point on, oh no, I'm sorry, I didn't pick up another kill, it just chipped Sandslash with Facade to the point where I couldn't switch in again. But then from that point on, I think after those things happened, the game ended up going really excellently for you. Like Ursaring managed to do exactly what it was supposed to do, same with Persian, and it kind of all got turned around.
Yeah, I feel like the key turning point for Teddy is I think that he played the entire game under the assumption that Persian was like a pivot set. Well, not straight up nasty plot like how he might have anticipated. I think he envisioned more like I think at team preview what he was thinking was Persian was a parting shot Darkinium Z set with the Z parting shot, so he can like recover the Ursaring. I feel like that's what the assumption Teddy made. So he played the entire game under that premise, right? So he didn't really want it. So he was thinking, I don't really need to keep Togedemaru because, I have switch-ins for the Persian. But it turned out to be nasty plot, and I feel like that was the key distinction. I feel like the game was won at the Persian set, to be honest.
Yeah, it's Persian who won the game. He did everything he needed to. It was faster than the whole team after Togedemaru died, and he took advantage of that burn Stoutland so as to put it in KO range of Darkers, even though it failed. It lied with 1%, which was a bit annoying, but otherwise, it just took that Pom-Pom out. And then Sandslash could just sweep the Aurorus and Mesprit.
The only other really notable thing, I think, is that Teddy was running Protect Aurorus.
Yeah, I don't know what's that for.
I would have to actually ask him. I don't think we ever saw it use another move. But based on his team, it has to be the Stealth Rocker. Oh, no, Mesprit can be the Stealth Rocker. Excuse me. It is probably Rocks Mesprit. In fact, Mesprit might have set Rocks. But, Protect Aurorus on a team that I would generally also call Sandslash weak. It has Colbert Jellicent, and then 5 Mons that just lose to Hail Sandslash. So, I don't know if that's like supposed to be stalling out Hail or something. I don't know.
Right. Honestly, the real question is why was there an Avarus in that team? Like he had Stauden as a strong wall breaker. Pom can hit hard, but it's not that fast. So why is there also an Avarus which isn't Scarf? Maybe he thought I would bring a super slow team and try to wall break with both Avarus and Stauden, but otherwise, I don't understand why he had Avarus.
Yeah. I think
Teddy's a fan. He likes teams with heavy wall breakers, like a lot of wall breakers. I feel like his favorite teams in the past.
Well, there goes the chat again. But yeah, I mean, without Aurorus, the team is definitely a bit stall weak unless there's some really weird sets we don't know about. I could see the stall breaker being a lot of things that aren't Aurorus, especially something that doesn't set Hail for Sandslash, because at that point, even your defensive Sandslash really annoying for his team. Like, it took off the Jellicent's Colbur so that Ursaring could hit it with Crunch better. And then if Jellicent ever went down, Sandslash was going to beat the other 5 Mons with Aurora setting Hail to its own detriment. So, I don't know. A very interesting game. I definitely think Teddy had a bit of a back foot on matchup, and then it kind of really went his way early game, and then you just swung it back around afterwards by just playing the Ursaring how it needed to get played. Teddy, I think, really should have made his death fodder the Aurorus. Like, he foddered Togedemaru before Aurorus, and I just don't get that at all. I don't... Aurorus did break the team decently well and chipped Sandslash, but, like, Stoutland kind of just chipped Sandslash on its own, and I don't know. It was definitely pretty weird. Mesprit also never got a chance to Healing Wish, which I'm assuming it was, and that's definitely like a big deal for teams like this. You really want to get a Healing Wish off, and he just could not get that to happen.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a Jad back?
Yeah, he's...
Hello?
Oh my god, Jad.
I was mid-rant.
Yeah, I explained what you were saying. I finished up our thoughts on the game.
Okay, yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
So just a last thing about that game, I have to say it's I think it's the first or the second time I used Nasty Blood version. I think someone called it Dark. I don't know how you pronounce that. Hugo. Like the name of the set that the Nasty Blood version.
Just
how do you call that? It has a name, right?
Just Nasty Plot, I think.
Okay. I thought it had a name. But anyway, I just think that set is quite bad because at +2 it was not even able to take out the weakened Oricorio Pom-Pom, so I was forced to use the Black Hole Eclipse, and then I could do 0 damage to arrows. So I think I got a bit lucky in that game because Persian was not against fighting tips like Gurger or Hitmonchan, so he could actually put in work and kind of sweep Teddy's team.
I don't think it was like incredibly strong, but I do think the combined utility of being able to Nasty Plot, get rid of the Oricorio, plus actually just like the parting shot utility that it brought, to me that's kind of the big deal. It's a Nasty Plot mon, but its utility is almost more in parting shot and having the really good speed tier than actually being able to break things. I agree that like this is a game where it would have been really nice if it was a strong wall breaker given Teddy's 0 dark resists, and it's just not. And that, yeah.
Well, I think that version set could be actually used as a sort of a counter team for stall teams, because if you, for example, use Taunt instead of parting shot, Audino can touch you. You can use Nasty Blood on Audino, then you can break past Articuno or Altaria or Bronzor or Regirock, stuff like that. If you pair that like Nasty Blood person with Healing Wish Mesprit, for example, you can break start teams quite reliably. So I think it's not a very bad set because I think it's really good against start teams and can check offensive threats like Dodrio and Lycanroc. So yeah, I think that set could be used a bit more than it is
Yeah.
at the moment.
Especially with Clefairy and Carbink really not getting as much stall use as they used to.
Yeah, Clefairy kind of sucks at the moment. Well, many people have said that Clefairy still has some utility against Lantern, Electros, but otherwise it's not that great without.
No, yeah, I voted for it to go down to B plus. Like it's taken a big hit. Speaking of mons that have taken a big hit, going to game 2, like that segue, you brought a Sensu team, which to me was just super interesting.
Well,
I guess just thinking of what I would want to use against Teddy, Sensu was not something I expected, but did actually come out having like a fine matchup and performance here. So, what were your initial thoughts on game 2? I guess.
Well, I don't know if Teddy noticed that, but my team was really weak to Girder. Even though I had Quillfish and Sensu, well, Quillfish doesn't really handle Girder because it just uses knockoff and then can just spam Drain Punch, and Liquidation does like 0 damage. And then Sensu struggles against knockoff from Girder and can be trapped by Skuntank, and also struggles against Air Knock. So I thought I was going to lose the game against if Teddy used Girder very well. But I don't know how. I won that game, and I don't really understand how. Honestly, I don't know.
My take on the game was honestly that Teddy did not handle spikes well at all, or really hazards. Like to me, watching the game, it was basically we got the dead Dodrio turn 5 after it like switched into Giga and took rocks damage. The prediction with Lilligant was just the icing on the cake. By turn 12, turn 12, we get a spike, which does cost Quillfish 85% of its health, but you Z parting shot it back.
I think that was it.
Yeah, and Defog Skunk was just way too pressured to get rid of hazards until Girder was already at like 55%, it looks like. Yeah, Girder's at 55%. And even if Skuntank had managed to defog, it was already significantly chipped and everything. And I don't even think Mesprit Healing wished it. Let's see.
Also, what was really weird is that Teddy didn't use Stealth Walk with Mesprit. He didn't get rocks up in that game, and that was really weird because he couldn't pressure Sensu that well without the rocks. And I know why the first turn he used, if I remember correctly, he used U-turn against Agron, and I didn't understand that play because either you click Stealth Walk against Agron or you just I don't know, like you switch into Girder without using U-turn, so you keep that Mesprit health.
I'm assuming Teddy's sort of idea was to whittle your stealth rockers and your hazard setters mainly first, and then worry about getting his hazards up later in the game. I think the key thing was he needed Mesprit as his check to Hitmonchan, and without it he knew that Mesprit sort of invited in Agron at any possible moment at that game. So at that point, it was what he was trying to do was just whittle the team. I think the hazards matchup, the hazards matchup was just really bad for him because physical defog Skuntank versus Agron and Quillfish is really hard. And I think I played against this team, didn't I, in the semi-final?
My team with the Sensu and Lilligant. I used that against your spike stacking Kangaskhan team.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
It was something like that.
I feel like I had the same sort of matchup, not like literal matchup, but same sort of problem that Teddy had, and that was hazards maintenance in the long term. Because that team depended on Scarf Spin Kabutops, which struggles versus spikes spin block. Obviously.
You need to lay off that mic, my guy.
Okay, hold on.
Just scoot back from it is probably going to fix it. But yeah, I agree that the Hazards matchup was big, and I'm actually going to revise what I said. Teddy did Healing Wish the Girder. It was at that point, it was just kind of little, like, it wasn't necessarily completely too late, but you got a really good double after the Healing Wish that kept you in the game and eventually won it. I actually think the big turning point was not just getting the spike with Quillfish, but getting the spike with Quillfish and then Z parting shotting it. It didn't really look like he was prepared for that. He kind of needed Quillfish to be gone. And then I guess the presumption was, now that Quillfish has been super chipped, and it's practically dead, oh look, I can do Girder things now because the Sensu the Sensu was dead, the Quillfish was almost dead. And then when you got the chance to Z parting shot the Quillfish, without it like coming in and taking a big hit, that was kind of the really big turning point there. Like honestly, both games really show how Ololan Persian, even when it's not being strong and killing things, is just a really good support mon. Until I went back to the replay, I didn't really realize how big that was.
Yeah, well, the second game, I think it was a fair game because well, I got axed pretty badly in my opinion because I missed Toxic on Jellicent in the first turns. Then I missed Toxic on Girder because I wanted to Toxic Girder and then start the Girder with my Quillfish, and I missed Toxic again. I also missed a head smash against Togedemaru, but that didn't matter that much. And then also my Sensu got outplayed like totally. I clicked Revelation Dance when Teddy sent out the skunk tank, and then I clicked Hurricane and Sucker Punch. So I don't know. I think I played quite badly, but it was almost like 50-50. So I don't know.
Yeah, Sensu versus Skunk was tough, but I don't think you played badly. Like overall. What I really liked about the series is that both of you did go back and forth with like handling each other with the plays. Then obviously, the end of the game was basically decided at, let's see, turn 35. It's Girder versus Quillfish, and you double directly into Hitmonchan as Teddy goes Jellicent, and that's it. Jellicent dies to Hazards. It can't get itself back in on Quillfish. That was it. That was the game. And I almost wonder if, like, I feel like Teddy could have at least Drain Punched one more time without a lot of risk, but maybe he was thinking you would expect that, or I don't know. But it was definitely a really hard call that was exactly what you needed to eventually take the game. So I wouldn't say that you played bad at all. Nor that really the toxic misses came in like that huge. You managed to chip Jellicent and Girder like without them. I think overall, I don't think the series really had that much impactful stuff here.
I think it was a great series. I really enjoyed both games. They were both super close, and so that's what I was expecting for finals of the ladder tournament, except that Teddy didn't bring Star, which was a good thing because I don't think people enjoy watching Star games.
I mean, definitely depends on like the kind of matchup and game week you get out of that. To be honest, I do not know. I have not talked to Teddy. I could be totally wrong, but I think if it went to Game 3, we would have been seeing a stall.
Yeah. Maybe I would have brought the Ursaring team one more time for the game 3 because Teddy would have probably tried to storm me with his amazing Clader team. And also, I've seen that many people often use like the same team in game 1 and game 3. I saw Tusk did that against. I don't know who was his against Samayam in the seasonal, and also Edja did that in the ladder tournament. In some round, he brought the Frostlast Kangaskhan team twice, so I could have tried to do the same.
Yeah, there's been a lot of team recycling recently. I think the point that Teddy and Jad and a few others have made is that it's not necessarily that like you can't make new teams or anything. It's just that right now consistent teams and just piloting them well have been just bringing better results overall than consistently new teams. That's just kind of a thing that happens when you have people like Teddy who just naturally want to conglomerate to specific builds, and if they're winning, they're definitely going to keep on using the same ones. I don't think it's necessarily bad, though, as long as the game quality is high. Like what we saw was some high-quality games, so no complaints from me. So now that you've picked up Ladder Tour, this week you also picked up a win over Robert Alphonse in Seasonal, so you're still in the Seasonal. What's next for you in PU Tours? Is this going to stay your focus? I know you also qualified for OLT. Are you going to go to other things, or is PU where you're going to be sticking with?
My original goal was to stop playing months after the OLT because overuse is so cancer. I just can't play this tier anymore. It's really annoying. Every game is, in my opinion, it's matchup based on you don't really need skill to win overuse. So I was pissed off. I wanted to stop, and then I came back to PU, which is, well, it's just an amazing tier. Honestly, it's the best tier ever, especially the Sun and Moon one. I don't really like the Auras one with, I don't know what are the top threats. Auras.
No, that would be Monferno and Stoutland and Rotom Frost.
Yeah, it's like the zero use that we have in Sun and Moon, well, sort of. I don't really like that tier, but Sun and Moon PU is just the best tier for me, and I really enjoy playing it. And,
no.
And also, people are all cool. Like you guys are all amazing people, and there are no tryhards like number you that we just join tours and insult people and use style every game. There are no people like that in PU. So playing tours is like just fun. You can try to counter team people, but that's not so bad. It's always there. You can always do fun moves like Orsaring or I don't know, Drampa or Assaulted Crabomine. I don't know how to.
Crabominable, yeah.
Abominable. Okay, yeah. So yeah, even tours in PU are really fun to join. And yeah, so I would just keep playing tours, and well, if I'm lucky, I keep winning games.
Awesome. And yeah, the obviously the circuit playoffs are coming up soon. You are guaranteed a slot in there. Currently the number 4 seed. I believe the lowest you could drop at this point is number 6. So that's a very solid and safe placing.
All right. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I will say the things that struck me most of all is that when I saw Ktut play is the ladder tour games just in general. Something that I preach to people that are trying to get better is that first, before you can beat good players and great players, you have to be able to beat really bad players, or not necessarily bad players, but average players. And I feel like Ktut, you made I don't know how to say it, but it's like you made mincemeat of more average players, and then you managed to scale up your plays when it came down to playing more experienced players or better players just in general, like Teddy, who we made to Grand Slam finals, so it's obviously not bad. I'd say the big thing that impressed me was your plays, and also a mixture of your team building as well. I feel like seeing your teams, although a lot of them were, you could point out mistakes and certain errors in them. I felt like it was cool and like kind of nice to see somebody who's actually like building. You know what I mean? So like, you're not seeing the same game played 10 times in a ladder tour session, for example. You're seeing like a different matchup and a fun, unique take on every game. So yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying PU, and yeah, hopefully you join many more tours in the future.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Well, it's just that in general, I think Megazord said in the previous Untier talk that he didn't want to build. He didn't like team building for tours. That it was a real pain. But honestly, for me, it's the contrary. Like, I can build as many teams as you want. Like, I think it's really fun. Well, they are not going to be all strong, but it's always fun because I don't know. Showdown is like Minecraft. Like, you can build. There is an infinite number of possibilities, and there's always new things to try out and new combos, new cores. Especially with the tier shifts. For example, Dodgery on Jellies and Dropping, which really changed the meta game. So I can stop building teams because I know the next tier shift is coming, and so we have to try out as many things as possible before the meta game changes again.
Yeah, that's a good take.
And not just tier shift. So a little bit of a segue here because that's been 35 minutes on Ladder Tour. I want to just give a public service announcement really quick because this week we saw the data mining of Pokemon Let's Go. We created a Gen 8 speculation channel in the PU Discord to talk about changes and what we think will apply. And I don't really want to get into that right now. All I want to do is public service announcement because I cannot hammer this point home in enough different places. A lot of what is happening in Let's Go does not look like it's going to apply to the full new Gen 8 releases. Does not look like it's going to apply to competitive. There are a lot of people who are extremely nervous about things like friendship affecting your stats, about candies, about AVs, the new EV things, about the partner Pikachu. A lot of different things do not look like they're going to apply. And what I specifically hope people are more focused on is the things that like move buffs and move pool changes and things like that. I really hope that anyone talking about these games and what Gen 8 might bring really focuses on that rather than too much fear-mongering. I've been watching the Smogon thread about the Let's Go leaks and whatever, and it has devolved into a lot of people making crazy talks about what Gen 8 competitive is going to look like. Y'all need to chill. That's all I got. Good Lord, you guys need to chill. Don't even want to get into anything else. Just, wow. I needed to get that off my chest.
I will say the Pokemon Let's Go thing. It feels more like a spin-off of Pokemon Go, like a side-by-side game rather than like a Gen 8 release. But it just looks fun, like a fun Pokemon game. I don't think it's like a serious game. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think people are reading too much into the certain things. I will say the teleport buff is super cool. I love that.
Speaking of super cool things that Hajad loves, before we go, it's time for Hajad's Gimmick Corner.
Yeah.
I don't have theme music yet. I might actually get theme music and edit it in. That's probably going to be too much effort, especially since we're recording this 8 hours before it gets uploaded, so I don't have a ton of time to... Anyway, today we have 2 sets. The first is going to be Hajad's, so why don't you go ahead?
So yeah, gimmick set of the day is Choice Specs Abomasnow. So yeah, a lot of people they're sort of almost like gathering around these new I say core three core of new, or not new, but of really powerful wall breakers, and you'd have to say Aurorus, Aggron, and Jellicent sort of create this triangle of slow wall breaker, but it will break things type of thing. And the one thing that Choice Specs Abomasnow does is get opportunities to break on every single one of those wall breakers, which can't be said for a lot of the Pokemon in this metagame. And add on to that, it does beat a lot of the ice resists that are being spammed, let's say, at the moment. So we get the main ice resist that we'll see at the moment is like if somebody just wanted, Hajad, name me an ice resist that I can use in this metagame, I'd probably like tell them to use a Lowland Sandslash, or if their team was more offensive, a Scarf Togedemaru. And both of those Pokemon, Abomasnow can easily OHKO with Focus Blast or do heavy damage with otherwise. Also, you can also, with that Pokemon in particular, Giga Drain is also extremely nice for like longevity purposes. So, for example, if you needed to heal some HP, you could just Giga Drain a wall or Giga Drain a sack, and you'd be able to stick around for a bit longer, which can't be said for the other three that I mentioned. And as a last thing I want to mention about it, it's also a nice pseudo check, I guess you can call, for Jellicent. You know, a lot of people, they've
been looking for Jellicent checks because it's really good.
Yeah, pretty much. It's really hard to switch into Jellicent, and basically with Abomasnow there, it does the dual purpose of forcing Jellicent to essentially go for Shadow Ball if it wants to do a ton of damage versus it, or and also get the Hail Chip on it, so Water Spout gets gradually weaker and weaker over time. So I just think choice specs Abomasnow, but honestly, just like Abomasnow in general, like even if a Life Orb version, if you wanted to go after, I personally prefer specs just because it has a bit more longevity, and it also gets breaking like opportunities like quite frequently at the moment. But you know, Life Orb still works. Life Orb has less move slot syndrome as well.
Mm-hmm.
Swords Dance is also pretty decent, although you know Gerda is raising in popularity, so it's probably not as good. But it's still like a fun breaker if you wanted to use that the void that you could. You know, if Gerda exists.
Yeah. So Ktut, I think in the VR update when I was talking about Abomasnow, I credited you as the one who was using Sub Punch in a tour game. Was I correct on that? Because I honestly am not sure.
I saw that post. Well, I was happy that you mentioned that Sub Punch Abomasnow. Well, first of all, because Abomasnow is one of my favorite mons, and also because I think, well, I'm not sure, but I think it can be one of the best Abomasnow sets, because the Focus Punch actually one-hit KOs the special defensive Alolan Sandslash. It also allows you to 1v1 Audino, Articuno, Agron, and well, also it KOs Jinx, the Jinx that TJ was using. So well, it still has some use. You can also one-hit KO Togedemaru, even though you only have 4 EVs in attack.
Wow.
So I think it's really a better move than Earthquake, because Earthquake doesn't KO Sandslash and doesn't help against Articuno and Audino. So I think that every Abomasnow should be using Focus Punch, even though you don't have substitute. You can just predict a switch and use Focus Punch. But Earthquake is, I don't think it's a really good move about Abomasnow.
Yeah, I've been going with HP Fire over Earthquake. It's, to me, the superior option purely because Alolan Sandslash is just super annoying for it. Then the other gimmick that we have today is very exciting. Our first and only content suggestion by a listener, a user by the name of JMash, has suggested that we talk about a set that he used in a seasonal. He played a seasonal set versus TSR and won, which is a pretty solid victory. TSR known for his good record in exhibition, among other things. And he brought, very fascinating, an offensive Ghostium Weezing, Z Shadow Ball, as a method to bonk Jellicent, Mesprit, and other Pokemon of that kind. I'm going to see if I can find the exact YouTube comment right quick. Don't go away, because I want to get the exact. I think he had a different spread on it too. Don't quote me on that. Here, JMash, I know you already. Yeah.
Was it timid?
I know.
I think it was timid.
Yeah, it was max speed timid. When I ran offensive wheezing, I was running modest with like a E-Belt and T-Bolt. But yeah, Sludge Bomb, Shadow Ball, HP Fighting, and then Taunt/Wisp/T-Spikes, and just the idea of Z Ghost to bonk, Ghosts, Mesprit, etc. Already went through that. Personally, I think it's pretty cool. I think it is exactly the kind of, like, Z moves are a dumb mechanic in my opinion, but I think this is like the best case scenario for them. Is like, hey, he has a really cool kind of lure, and normally the lure wouldn't be useful because Shadow Ball is just like not strong enough coming from Wheezing, but Ghostium kind of at least lets it do the thing that it wants to. I also want to point out that one really cool thing, if you want to go for a little fatter set, might even be running Spite in the last slot. If you don't want to use the Z Shadow Ball, Z Spite is a fully healing move. So that could be
that sounds like
fun. It's probably too stupid of a gimmick. You probably don't want to mess with that on offensive. But when I saw the Ghostium on Wheezing, that was like the first thing. Yeah, it might. That was like the first thing I thought of is using Spite, because I've messed around with Z Spite in the past. I was using like Z Spite, Dragon Dance, Gyarados. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is, I think it's a really cool set. I think offensive Wheezing in general is just one of those mons. It's like, hey, you can fuck around with things because it's PU, and there's a lot of room to mess around with things. There is in other metas as well. I'm not saying there's not creativity, but PU is always going to have these kinds of mons, and it's always good to spotlight them. So yeah, that's a plus for me.
Yeah, I'd say the cool thing about Ghostium Wheezing is just it's less so the Ghostium part and more so the offensive Wheezing part. I feel like offensive Wheezing just in general is sort of underrated and like flown under the radar. Even though it's perfectly viable, I think it's actually pretty decent. I personally take a preference to like Specs Wheezing with HP Fighting, just because you can.
Well, this one does have HP Fighting.
Yeah, no, HP Fighting to get off on like the Alolan Sandslash or Aurorus, mainly Aurorus and like Aggron, but mainly like those two. But yeah, just running a set like that, and maybe like, I don't know, Thunder. I don't know if that kills Jellicent, but that sounds like fire if somebody wants to try it.
If you're running Z moves, then Z T-Bolt is going to be fine. E-Belt T-Bolt is going to 2-hit KO, and if you're running Timid, you can outspeed it. Thunder, I do not believe gets any relevant calcs. I'm pretty sure I went over this. I'll double check right now. But it also has the drawback of being fucking... Oh, Specs, my bad. But it also has the drawback of being Thunder, and I will never, ever advocate for that. Okay, so Specs T-Bolt versus Specs Thunder from Wheezing. We're talking 252. We're talking Timid. And then I'll check Modest after versus the Jellicent. If this is like a physically defensive 252-0, then both T-Bolt and Thunder are going to kill. If we're talking 252 Calm Jellicent, then Thunder is a 98% chance to 2-hit KO after Rocks and Lefties, whereas T-Bolt is a 0% chance to 2-hit KO after Rocks and Lefties.
Yes! Relevant calc. I win.
And if we are... Well, you still have to hit 2 Thunders, so it's not like it's that great of odds. And if we're talking offensive Jellicent, then both moves are going to cleanly be 2-hit KOing. Although I guess I can say that Specs Thunder is a guaranteed OHKO after Rocks and 1 layer of Spikes, whereas Specs T-Bolt needs 3 Spikes to get the bonk. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Can I just say something about J-Mash Wheezing set?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think it looks really gimmick, but I think it can be really almost good in the current metagame, because balanced teams, for example, the sample team with Mudstay, Jellicent, and Roselia and Sandslash, that team can almost be swept by that Wheezing, because Mudstay can't touch Wheezing. Sandslash just dies to Hidden Power Fighting, and Jellicent dies to the Ghostium Z, and so the Wheezing can be used at the same time as a Girder check, Hitmonchan check, and also be used as a breaker. It's not that bad, especially when you do like J-Mash and you pair it with Girder, so you lure that Mesprit and Jellicent, so Girder can just spam Drain Punch. So I think he really had a very good idea.
Yeah, and I also think
So.
it's really funny, to be honest, that I used it back in PUPL, and at that point it was breaking defensive cores really nicely because defensive cores revolved around things that Weezing broke. Think like more Auroras and more Clefairy, and it does nicely versus Regirock because I was running Wisp on it. And now it's really nice versus specific defensive cores that are really common, but like completely different defensive cores. And it still just happens to beat them. Like, what? That's not supposed to happen.
Well,
Yep.
the thing is that the current standard Weezing with Will-O-Wisp and Taunt and Slash Bomb and Toxic Spikes is not really strong in the current metagame because
Boy.
Taunt just absorb the Toxic Spikes, and Will-O-Wisp is dead white versus Taunt Frostlass. So having Shadow Ball just kills Frostlass, as Z Shadow Ball can do a lot of damage to Quillfish, and so you have more utility than just having Will-O-Wisp to burn some things and Toxic Spikes, which will be removed within a few turns. So I think it's a really, it's really okay, decent set in the current metagame.
Yeah, so this has been going on for 50 minutes. But before we go, the PU seasonal, the next round, was literally just posted. We are seeing some really fun matchups. We have the highlights: Tasker versus Teddy, and Pepe versus J-Mash. Two very fun games. Ktut, you're going to be facing Zugaboo, the exception to your rule of there are no tryhards who just bring stall and are really mean.
I don't want to play that game. I don't want to play that game.
Yep. Let's see. We
I don't
have
think anybody does.
we have Hajad versus Slowbroth, the extension, which is looking fun, and then the winner is playing a Scoffier, who still has not had like any crazy runs, so I'd be really interested if he can beat either of you. We have me versus Skipcan, who I think I'm like 3-0 against in tours or something, but he always wins a lot, so who knows where that's going. We have Pills versus TJ and Chloe versus Ziri, which is notable because the top 8 of Seasonal has mostly been decided. This is the last tournament, but both Pills and Ziri have the potential to qualify if they do exceptionally well. And they're Ziri versus Chloe, I think, is actually fairly even. Ziri's maybe a little better. Chloe's maybe a little just more into PU. Pills versus TJ, obviously TJ, is like top 5 at the moment and has his free qualifying slot, so that's going to be a really fun set. And then, is that every match? No, there's SOT versus Arco Boleno. SOT joins like every tournament, and I never remember. He's like a Tours Room dude. I think he gets teams from JRDN. I do not remember like any of his games, so I can't really comment on that. But yeah, really,
I think I remember.
Lots of fun shit. Obviously, with Tasker versus Teddy and Pepe versus J-Mash, can't really go wrong with the matchups. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember SOT from NU tours back in the day.
Oh no, he's been playing for a
ago.
long time. He always joins tournaments. He always goes like a few rounds in. I just don't remember anything notable from him.
Tasker vs Teddy, that's a big game though. That's a crunch match right there.
I do still find it hilarious that Ktut, you're talking about how, there's no PU tryhards, and I like how not a lot of people just bring stall. You guys are all really fun, and of course you get the Zugaboo matchup.
I was saying that I didn't want to play against Zugaboo because last season he completely trolled me. He had a hammer Kamana against my Caracosta, so I just used Shell Smash and he used Wood Hammer and he killed Costa. I just couldn't believe that because I don't know his knowledge about PU, but all his sets are so weird. His teams are really weird. So I never know what he's bringing, and so that's such a pain.
Yeah, but they do function. He does win. In fact, he might be able to qualify. I lied. Okay, Zugaboo is actually also capable of qualifying. So on the current rankings, 522 is the lowest amount of points of anyone in with Pogus, and then you have Zugaboo, Ziri, and Pills as the 11th, 12th, and 13th slots. The 2 people in between the top 8 and those 3 are not in the seasonal currently. Let's see, Zugaboo is 328 points and Ziri has 310. So they would both need to get to like semis, I believe, to qualify, and Pills would have to win the whole thing. he actually might qualify off semis. Don't know the points off the top of my head. So yeah, I guess there's still storylines to look out for. The last round 3, like I was watching nervously because I am the 7th seed, so I could get knocked out. And we saw Evagero and Sam I Am get knocked out, who are also like up there and pretty close. So yeah, that's kind of the storylines to look for. Lots of hype matchups. Go follow that. Go check out the Ladder Tour finals. Good sets, great sets. Like PU really looking up at the moment. Ktut, you're on air in front of the entire PU, on air, like this is live, in front of the entire PU community, or at least the ones that watch Untier talk. Anything else you would like to say or do or point out?
People.
All 5 people who watch the podcast, listen to the podcast.
I don't know what to say. I think people should. I don't know who listens to Untier talk and who doesn't. But I try to listen. I think I listen to half of the Untier talks. Like this is the 26th or 25th. I don't know.
26.
But it's really useful, in my opinion, to understand why you do those viability rankings changes. Also, you explain the metagame very well. Then there is HChat in corner, which is really fun because the sets are so weird, and also having the opinion from, for example, Specs, Jigglypuff, and TJ was quite fun, and keep doing that, and I hope more people will listen and like your videos, even though I often forget to like, but I do watch them. So yeah, thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much. There's nothing better than a guest who just strokes their own egos. Anyway, next week we'll be back, maybe with Tasker, I hope, maybe not. Obviously, we haven't even mentioned the big news, and we're going to keep not doing that, but we're going to discuss that. We are going to discuss more tournament results. We are going to discuss maybe Gen 8. We are going to discuss the viability rankings update that we didn't even have time to get to. Thank you all for listening. I'm Megazard. This has been Najad and Ktut. Why am I signing out like this? I never sign it. God damn it. All right, let's just cut. Oh, wait.
I have to say something.
Yeah.
Thanks for dropping Alolan Rat in the viability rank. Thank you very much.
Anytime.
There you go.